Hey, this is Brandon Wright with Right Stuff Radio Show, and we just finished recording this week's show, which is going to be on KIDO 580 AM. But now we also have big news. We're going to be on 107.5, which is KIDO's FM station this Saturday. So I have with me today my guest, Brad Frazier with Hawley Troxell. And if you haven't been following the news, maybe you have, but there is a huge ransomware attack to small business all over the world. And so as I read the news, I want to get the expert on cybersecurity, Brad, in here, but tell us what exactly happened.
There was an attack that went around the world. It was called a ransomware attack, and it went by the name WannaCry. WannaCry because it makes you want to cry, because you would log into your computer and you would see nothing but a screen that says, "Hi, we're holding all of your data hostage, and if you want it back, you have to pay us a sum of money." It wasn't a lot of money, but nonetheless, all of the data on your computer had been compromised. That's why it's called ransomware. You can get your data back, but you have to pay a ransom to the hackers. And so in order to get your data back, you had to use a particular payment mechanism called Bitcoin, which is a kind of online computer currency. And if you didn't make the Bitcoin payment, they would simply destroy all of your data. Meaning, literally, all of your customer data, all of your information, all of your invoices, all of your accounting records, all gone.
What was the ransom amount, do you know?
I do. It was $300.
$300.
So
they're attacking multi-million-dollar
Right.
organizations and then asking $300.
Exactly.
Why so low?
Well, because the lower the amount that they charge, the less likely they'll get on law enforcement radar. The total amount that they made in all the ransomware that people paid around the world since the attack began, guess how much? $68,000. $68,000. So they went to all this trouble to hold all this data hostage and to do the Bitcoin thing, and they've made $68,000.
Do you think there's something behind that where they didn't charge more?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
another reason they were doing it.
Sure. It's and it's purely by design. They're hoping to fly below the radar of the FBI, and hopefully nobody will say it's only $300. What they were hoping, Brandon, is that for that low amount, people wouldn't report it to law enforcement because it's embarrassing, right? And so, because the way it got into the system was through a phishing attack, principally, right? Principally, meaning in all those companies, somebody had to click on an email that had the link to the ransomware attack. If it's called a phishing attack. And so they were hoping with that number, $300, that people would be too embarrassed to admit that they'd suffered a phishing attack.
Yeah.
They just want to pay and get the data unencrypted and back on their system.
Yeah, not to mention it, you and I have talked about on the show before, what if our business was breached,
Right.
really what we need to do according to the state and federal guidelines of making sure that all our consumers know, and if you have different customers in different states, there's different qualifications. And
You know, that's the other reason the number was so low. You and I have talked before about the thing you've described, which is called your data breach reporting obligation. If you suffer a hack and customer PII, personally identifiable information, is compromised, you're right, Brandon, you have an obligation to report that to the affected parties and maybe to regulators, state and federal regulators. So they were hoping that people would fly below the radar, they'd want to avoid that whole data breach reporting thing, just pay $300, sweep it under the rug, and hope that it never happened.
yeah. And from what I heard in the media was there's a lot of hospitals,
Right.
universities, I think, and big organizations like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So I mean, this is something that I've said on the show before is cybersecurity is the number one threat that I feel for small business, because if we were to lose our data,
Right.
that we're done as a business. Not to mention that most small businesses don't have in the reserves the amount of money that they need to put forth to be compliant with what they have to do, not to mention the bad press that they get, which really could destroy your reputation.
Exactly.
But it's happening all the time. So
Every day.
from a small business perspective, let's talk about what does a small business got to do, because when this came out on Friday, all I could think about was how many small business owners, they should have been contacting their employees over the weekend saying, do not open your email. Staff meeting Monday morning. Nobody opens their emails until we meet. And because this is a huge deal. But I was thinking in the back of my mind, most small business owners are probably not doing that.
That's Brandon. That's the answer.
Yep.
That's exactly what small business owners should have done. As soon as they first got an inkling that there was a problem like this going around the internet, a message to all employees should have gone out that said, "Don't get on your email. Don't open an email. Don't click on any links. Don't get on the internet from a business computer. Stop staff meeting in person Monday morning. That's the perfect answer that small business owners should have done when they became aware of this. Yes.
So I think this is something that we need to be aware of. I mean, we need to continue looking at cybersecurity, and really, as time goes on, we're going to hear more and more and more about this. I mean, 2 years ago, we would hear about it once in a while. Now it's almost becoming a weekly thing.
Right.
So Brad Frazier, Hawley Troxell, I mean, he's the expert that I rely upon when it comes to the legal aspect of cybersecurity. And really, as a small business owner, get people into your circle, right? Into your network, so that when something does happen, you automatically know who you can rely upon, who it is that you trust. And I appreciate you on Right Stuff Radio.
Thank you, Brent. Appreciate it.